suppose this time we want to kind of get an idea of what the process is that you would typically go through when a company invites you in. They want to get some data analytics going beyond their normal accounting system. They want to dig into the detail.
Yeah.
Say it's a manufacturing company, for example. What's the approach that you take generally when you've got that sort of situation, and we're coming up with hopefully a productive solution for these guys?
Yeah. So first of all, it definitely, there is no like a single approach that we take, but generally, I guess what we're talking about is, so we go in and we start assessing what sort of things we can do. So first of all, I would always like to, for the business to understand what they exactly want, because that's how you can scope out and you can work on the project. But at the same time, some businesses, they just have an idea of saying, okay, we've heard that, data is actually very important and we want to start utilizing it. And then it was like, okay, so let's just assess what sort of data sources you have. How are we going to be storing them? What sort of technology is going to be used? What is your cost? How much do you want to spend? Because there are multiple technologies. So you can do it on premise. You can, buy a server, just start putting the data, create like a little data lake, and then you can start putting data, start structuring it, and do it all in-house sort of thing. But then there is, an emerging technology, and it's very popular now, becoming very popular. It's the cloud technologies, which is very cost efficient. It's very quick. And it's very easy to use. And that's the thing. Now, then we will go and say, okay, so what is your approach? What do you want to do? First of all, do you want to future-proof yourself? If you do, then let's go with the cloud. And then we start saying, assessing what amount of data you have, how we're going to be storing it, in what way it's going to be used. Do you require real-time analytics? If you do, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but still doable. Do you require on a daily basis, like, a simple dashboard with all the data that you have? Let's, start, if you want some predictive analytics and AI, that's a different cost. But then we will always work with the customer and say, what exactly do you need?
Yep.
And then if we can't really define the scope out, we'll start very slow and say, okay, so based on our previous experience, for example, in manufacturing, let's start analyzing how do you manufacture it? What's your machinery? How it is operating? Are you interested in that? Let's do that. Or what is your sales trends? And what are they? Based on the time series, for example, we can suck the data out. We can create a dashboard for you to understand. What are your sales trends and where you. Where do you need to focus? What sort of products are the most popular ones? How are you going to sell them? What sort of channels do you want to use? Do you need to use marketing? I mean, there are so many things that we can do, but at the same time, again, coming back to the customer and say, what do you exactly require? And then we'll start, pretty much start from there.
Because the other consideration you got to take into account is, okay, once it's up and running, how to keep it up and running.
Yes.
And do they have the skill set in-house to be able to maintain what you've developed? Or is that something that you provide as an additional service should they not have that? Because it depends on the size and the personnel that they've got. Some people are perfectly capable of taking on a piece of software and maintaining it after it's been developed, but other companies don't. So what's your view?
Exactly, and that's the other point. Depending on the requirements, it can be a simple dashboard that can be maintained by anyone, or it might not even be maintained, because whatever you're selling, if you have new products, you just add them in, they will automatically pop up in the dashboards. You will see the sales trend. But if you require some sort of, you don't really realize how much it costs to develop your product, like the exact cost. And that's where we can come on board and we create a software, like a little application for you to understand what are the different parameters that you input to come up with your final cost. And then this is harder to maintain. You actually need to have maybe a little software development experience, or maybe you don't. If you don't have it, then yes, we can sort of maintain it for you. If you require any additional stuff, it can be a little bit tweaked and redeveloped. I mean, again, there's definitely different things to consider, but at the same time, I guess for me it's still very important to understand what the customer needs are and how we're going to approach it.
Yeah, and I think from a finance perspective, you want that to be clear. You want it to be clearly defined because there's a cost associated with that.
Yeah.
You don't want it to creep, so you don't want it to start small and then end up like, you know, it's bigger than Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, that I suppose it's start small or start in a practical way and build it from there, prove that it works. Not that it doesn't work, but because the concept works, but prove that it works in their business, and then they can gradually develop it beyond that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's pretty much our agile approach, right, that we're taking throughout anything that we do. We start very small. We say, okay, let's create an MVP. You know, and agile approach is all about delivering something and getting feedback.
Yeah.
And you know, if someone at some organization wants a very fancy application that they can do anything with it, it's almost like an ERP system, but why do you need this? Let us deliver you a little application. For example, you want an airplane. Now we'll deliver you a skateboard, and maybe skateboard is going to be enough for you to get from point A to point B, and you will be happy with that, and it's going to be 5% of your cost. And then we can deliver you a car, and maybe car is going to be enough at 40% cost. But then if you really need an airplane, then we go, but we will start very small. We will create a minimum viable product, which is an MVP, and then we see if it is working. Because again, agile way is always about you start and then you get feedback. Maybe, you know, even the skateboard is not going to work for you, and say, okay, I don't think this is working for us. And we're happy with that. We're going to scrap it off, and we're going to redefine the scope, and we're going to start again. We're going to, you know, start seeing that, you know, all the things that we were developing previously were not really for that. Then we're going to change our approach. We're going to start again, or we're going to just completely scrap it off, and that's fine.